So what you're seeing here on my screen is a snake game that I created using Google's latest AI model, Gemini 2.5 Pro. And what's amazing about this game here is it looks like a very simple snake game, but it was generated entirely. All the code was generated by this model with one shot. So all I did was say, hey, generate a snake game for me. And it created the code in seconds. And I could just run this on my computer. And now I have a full-on game. All right. I'm going to show you how exactly I did this. But first, let's talk about Gemini 2.5 Pro. What is it? What is this model? What is so great about it? And why is everyone talking about it? All right. There we go. I died. Okay, so Gemini 2.5 Pro is a brand new thinking model, reasoning model from Google, part of the Gemini language model series. And the numbers are outrageous. Like, it is beating every other model on the market. It's beating GPT-o3, GPT 4.50. It's beating Claude Sonnet, Grok 3. In all of these benchmarks. These benchmarks are tests that are common across all of the language models. So all the scores you see here are on the same benchmark questions. So on reasoning and knowledge, you can see that Gemini is doing 18.8%, far better than the next highest, which is OpenAI's O3 mini high model, which is kind of like the SOTA, the state-of-the-art reasoning model before Gemini. It's beating every others on the science questions as well as the mathematics questions. But here's the most important eval. It is ranking number 1 on the LM Arena scoreboard. This is basically where people will vote for best outputs from a language model. So it's like a double blind kind of test. And so there's no bias creeping in here. Obviously, like maybe Google is saying that their models are doing better on those benchmarks. But here, there's no bias. You can see that Gemini 2.5 Pro is right up on top at 1443. The next high is 1404. So it's like a big margin ahead of the next few models. So there's 2 ways to access the latest model. What you're seeing here is the developer studio. It's called AI Studio. It's at aistudio.google.com. You can also get access to 2.5 Pro via the Gemini app. So gemini.google.com, or they have a Gemini app on the cell phone as well. But this is the developer studio gives you access to this model for free. I think it gives you access to all models for free, and I've just been using it forever, and I never had to pay anything, which is amazing. So as you can see, input and output, the $0 pricing over there, and the model here is because it's a reasoning and thinking model, it's really great at complex tasks as well as coding. So you saw the little Python game that I created earlier. I'm going to show you exactly how you would do that, right? So all you have to do is go into the chat bot here. You can do this on the Gemini app as well, and just say create a snake game in Python. Actually, I don't even have to say in Python. I could just say create a snake game. And what it does is, because it's reasoning here, you can see it decides that it should use Python and a library called Pygame on its own. So it sort of just reasons through that, figures out what it needs, and it does all of this thinking of like, what is the core request? What tools do I need? What are the game components? Like the snake, the food, the great game area, the screen, all of that does all of this. This is all thinking. So it's reasoning through all of these things, trying to figure out what it needs, all the building blocks, and then finally it puts it together. And you can see here it's just generating, it's already done. It's like, while I was talking, it generated the entire thing. It reasoned through it. It generated all the code here, you can see. And so if you wanted to, you could just go back and say, hey, can you add some updates? And what I did was, for the game I showed you initially, I said, hey, can you add some updates, like make multiple levels, make it harder with different like objects, give it power-ups. And it sort of just like figured it out on its own. So I'll show you an example again. How would you upgrade this game? So let's just have it think through it on its own, right? So that's a cool thing about reasoning models, is you don't have to be super explicit with the prompts sometimes, because even if you give it like basic prompts like this, it sort of just like tries to understand the request on its own and thinks through what it could be, right? And so again here, coming up with a bunch of ideas here: visual and audio enhancements, so like better graphics, smoother animations, sound effects, increased difficulty, obstacles, power-ups. So like it figures out what would make the game better without you having to spell it out, and then it can just create the code for it, and it already just did create the code for it. So that's exactly what I did when I first created that game that I showed you. I asked it to create a game. It created a very basic version, and then I said, make it better, and it just made it better. And obviously, you can spell out what you want if it's not going in the right direction. But it's a cool way to like have the AI do some thinking as well, and come up with what would be best practices. All right, so that's coding. Let's try some other stuff. Okay, so this is another prompt that I like using with language models, especially reasoning models, because it allows me to test the creativity of the model, plus some of the reasoning, because I'm giving it a bit of I'm asking it to write a science fiction story, but I'm saying the first letter of each word has to spell out the title of the story. So there's a bit of back and forth that the model goes through when it thinks through this. As you can see, breaks down, it picks a few titles, it sort of tries to create words with it, tries to create a story, and it's sort of like looping through different ideas. And so here we have the story. Quantum entanglement never dies. And then you can see quantum unseen affects nexus, thought unites mind. So like each word starts, the first letter of each word spells out quantum, entanglement, never dies. Amazing, right? So that's really, it's really good with the creativity as well as the reasoning here. So the other thing about this model is that it's multimodal, which means it takes in different modalities, not just text, but also images and videos. And a cool thing over here, as you can see, is you could just like link to a YouTube video. And in this case, I'm going to link to the trailer for John Wick Ballerina, which is the next movie in the John Wick series. And I'm going to add it to the prompt here. And what it does is, I think like here you go, 40,000 tokens. The token count, by the way, for this model is 1 million, which is a large context window. So you can put in like entire videos. I think it goes up to like an hour-long video. You could put in here and then start asking questions. So let's ask it a few questions. Give me a summary of this video. So really, it's just like the trailer of the next movie, and it shows a bunch of action sequences. I've not tried this prompt out before, so this is brand new. All right, so let's see what it is thinking. Here's a thinking process to arrive at the summary of the Ballerina trailer. Identifies a goal, initial observation. So it's figured out it's like an action movie. The protagonist, it's figured out who that is. Key scenes. The voiceover, it's got the voiceover. There's someone speaking there, which yes, it does. There's a nightclub dance scene where there's a fight scene. A New York skyline, the Continental Hotel. It identifies the guy as well. That's Lance Roddick, who's the proprietor of the Continental, or the receptionist, I suppose. Winston in the library. So yes, that happens. So all of that. And here, okay, so we've got the trailer at the bottom. It introduces Ana de Armas. It's got a bunch of others, and it mentions all the other people and the scenes. So this amazing. It's like it watched the video, it figured out all of this stuff. It figured out the actual actors in there, and then it's got the answer here. So that is quite mind-blowing. Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of like speechless, because it's so valuable in terms of like being able to process massive amounts of data upfront. So if you're looking to do like data analysis, video analysis, all that kind of stuff, Gemini is insanely good at that. And then of course with the coding stuff, honestly, I think Gemini is going to be my go-to now for coding, because I've been using Claude 3.7, which is awesome. My favorite for creative writing, but I think Gemini 2.5 Pro beats it at coding, beats it at analysis and stuff, beats ChatGPT definitely at this kind of stuff. So have a look at Gemini 2.5 either through gemini.google.com or the AI Studio. Check it out. Let me know what you think.